What's up, guys? Welcome to today's show. So today we're gonna learn how to create a man page. So a Linux or Unix manual page. If you don't know what that is, you can go to any Linux server and type man and then a command like bash. And then you get the full manual for bash. And this is really useful when you are coding C, for instance, because most functions have a chapter or a man page. So in here we can find information about the bash command and command line arguments and all that stuff, easily available. And if you're programming, for instance, maybe you want to know something about, I don't know, scanf, and then you get the manual page for scanf. It always has these section headers, which are different depending on if it's a Linux command or if it's a library call or whatever. So if we are dealing with library calls, as we are here, there's always the name where we have the different functions, the library it contains, in this case the standard C library, and a synopsis where we know the include file and the function signatures. And then we have a description where most other information about it is contained. And then we have return values, not always there, but often it is. Potential errors and other stuff. But you need to know how they are organized, because what if a library call and a Linux command has the same name, for instance? So printf is a good example, because you can do printf as a Linux command like this. But it's also a library call inside of the standard C library. So if we just do man printf, it defaults to the Linux command. And you can see up here that it says printf and a 1 inside of parentheses. This 1 is the chapter. And there are different chapters for different things. So 1 is, shell commands. Programs. 2 is system calls, so things like write and exit, etc. Functions that you can call inside of the Linux kernel in this case. Then we have 3, which is library C functions, mostly C functions, but library functions at least. We have 5, which is, if I remember correctly, I think it is file formats. Let's try it. Man elf, for instance. Yes, elf is a file format. And then we have a couple of others that I don't know by heart. However, I am going to create a man page for my encryption library that I wrote, and you don't need to know anything about that project or anything related. It's just an example that I want to use for this episode. So since it's a library call, it's going to be put inside of chapter 3. So I have already prepared, like one of those chefs at those cooking shows. So I have created a file called XSC, that's the name of my cipher. dot 3. So you always just put the chapter name as the extension, which is 3 in this case, so it's XSC.3. And currently I only have this text here, ABC. So if we were to try, you can see here is the file with this content. Like so. So we can do man./XSC.3 and we can see it's ABC. And it always ends in this thing here. So you press Q and you quit. So at the moment it's not particularly interesting, but this format, it's called troff format. And troff is an old Unix thing. Today, when we mostly use the GNU versions of things, we use groff, but it's the same. So that's the name of the file format, and it works similarly to HTML. Like in HTML, you do a tag like this if you want it bold, and then you do some text, and then you close that tag. It works similarly on troff. Only the tags begin with a dot, and then you put the B, and then you put some text, and when you press enter, that tag ends. So if we want this ABC, for instance, to be bold, we can do B, ABC, like so. Let's do this. Okay, it doesn't quite show yet. You can also do, sometimes it's easier to not see the whole thing, because before it's done, it might not work properly, but you can use the groff command instead. Only you need to specify some switches. Maybe we need to add the other stuff. Okay, there we go. And if we were to add this B, will it still work? No. Okay, never mind. It will work when we have added the other stuff. So, what do we want to add? Well, first of all, I have a little checklist here, what I want to teach. Now I remember. We need to have big letters. In some versions it works with small, but it will work. Trust me. Let's start with this, TH. So TH is the header, and you always specify the different parts of this, and it will be printed on different locations on the screen. So some of it will be printed on the top left corner and some on the middle and so on. But when we create man pages, and specifically this type of man pages, we always use these 4 arguments. So the first is the title, second is the chapter, this is the 3, and then we have the date, and we have the version of the library in this case. So that's what we need to add. So in our case, that's not it here. So we need to add the TH, and first we put in the command in question, or function, which is XSC. Then the chapter, which is 3, the date, which is 2026, and what was it, 12/10, and the version, which is 1.0, like this. Okay, so now everything works, even this part. And as you can see, it added all of these headers here. So we have the command and the chapter. We have this library functions manual, which it automatically mapped this chapter to. And here we have it again. This is the contents of our man page, and then we have version at the bottom here, the date, and this again. So this is how it looks. And we can run the man directly, and we see it like this, and now we see that this became bold as well. All right, so that's the TH. So then we have let's take these two first, because we have already talked a little bit about the bold. And regular text, which is not bold and not underlined, etc., is called Roman, and that's R. And why do we need to specify when something is not anything? Well, it will become clear a little bit later on. But for now, let's talk about how almost all of these commands are done. So if we let's put some text into the real thing. So let's say we have ABC, let's do like this, ABC foo bar. How will this be printed? It added a space in between. So it automatically adds a space for each command. So that can be a little bit tricky, but we can also do, because every word here are treated as its own subcommand, so to speak. So this B, ABC, blah, 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 really turns into B, ABC, B, blah, blah. And it doesn't matter in this case since everything is bold, but it will matter when we want bold and Roman on the same line, for instance. So the page that I want to have as a guide is the man page for SHA-2. That's the functions for the SHA-2 hash functions. So as we can see, we have this section header here, name, and then we have the different functions of this library, and these are bold, as you can see, but the comma in between is not. And that might be trickier than you might think to fix, because let's say we want to try to do that. So let's take one of the functions of my thing. So we have one XSC 256 init. That's the name of my function. So let's say we want that bold, and then we do this as Roman here, the comma, And let's say we have something bold again, another function, XSC 256 byte, for instance. How will this look? It adds this annoying space there. So how do we fix that? Well, what we can do is we can put this inside of quotes and then a comma. So what will happen when we do this? Now it looks right, but the comma is bold. So how do we make that Roman? Because it did not work just to do .r and the comma, right? What if we were to put it like this? Would that make a difference? It did not. So how do we do this? Well, one nice feature with this that HTML doesn't have is we can often combine several of these commands at the same line. So if we do BR, for instance, then we do both bold and Roman. So we do, the first word will be bold, the second will be R, and then the third will be B again, and it goes around like this. I can show you. So A, B, C, C, D, E, F, G, H, something like that. And then it turns into this. So now it doesn't have spaces any longer, but it makes this bold and this not. However, we can fix that too by just adding the space manual with quotes like this. So we have quite good granularity, so to say. Let's clean this out a bit, and let's see here. Let's do the SH, because now we have done this and this, and both in combination. SH is a section header. So if we go back to our template man page, we see that the first section header is name. So let's create that. So we do a section header, and those section headers is always in caps. So let's do, what was it, names, name. Yeah, name. And then we can list all my functions. And I don't want to type the whole man page because it's going to be quite a lot. So I have prepared the text. So this is how I wish my man page would look. So if we start with this name stuff here, I want to have all my functions listed with a comma in between, and I want each function to be bold. And then afterwards, not bold, I want to have the short information, what it is. So let's start by just copying these two lines. That's not it. 2DD. We go in here, paste. So we do 2DD. We paste, remove that P. All right, so how can we do this? How does it look right now? Okay, it does not look very good, does it? And this new line becomes this weird character as well. And it's not bold. But we know how to make them bold, don't we? So I'm gonna start by dividing these up a little bit. So let's see here. I think we need to do this. Since we want the commas to be different, we need to put them on each own line like this. Same with this one. And the rest here should be one thing. No, the encrypt file should be bold. So this is the division I'm looking for. So let's see what happens if we just do B here and leave this as is, and we do B here. How will this look? Okay, starting to get there, but not quite yet. We do have spaces here, and doesn't look quite right. So instead we can try to move this back, but make it like this, and we say that it should be bold and then Roman. And then it looks fine. See? So this is how it's going to be done. Same here, and this goes up. Maybe we can do, if we do insert BR space, we should be able to just dot and dot and dot. No, dot. There we go. And then we just move all these commas up like this. Let's see how this is. Maybe I should do a clear before we do this. Okay, this is how I want it to look. I'm not really sure why this happens though. Com and then the new line thing. So let's do this. Maybe there was some hidden character there. Compression. Okay, maybe it's my terminal. Let's see if it's same with Shah. By the way, if you want to specify what chapter to look in, you can do man and then a number. And then the thing you want. Yes, it's my terminal. All right, so far so good. So now we know about section headers. let's move along to the other sections. So we want to add this library thing and the synopsis, and let's see how the Shaw page does this, or how it looks rather. So the library should be just as is. Synopsis, here we have bold on the includes and on the function names, which is good, I think. I don't like that the data type is on its own line though, and I don't like that it's extra space here, an extra new line between the functions. But otherwise we want to try to copy this way of doing it. So let's copy this whole block here. See if I can paste it in. This is supposed to be a section header, and it's okay, by the way, to leave spaces like this. It will not make a difference, so this is the same as this, but it looks a little bit better, I think. Easier to read the code. So this should also be a section header, but here it's going to be a little bit different. We want this to be bold. Let's see how this looks currently. Okay, the spaces here is because I have spaces. I'm not going to have that in the code later on. Maybe I can even delete it. So one, now we can do this. And we dot, like so. And now it looks really messy. You see, we have this line here, and then the next line comes right after. There's no new line, no nothing. And what will happen if we add a new line like this? Well, not exactly what we want either, because we want it to be just after each other on the next line. We don't want each to be its own paragraph. So in order to achieve that, we need to learn this NF. And NF and FI is used together because it's a starting tag and an ending tag. So NF means that it should not make double line fields like this. And FI is just the ending tag for NF. And this is rather peculiar, but this should actually be in lowercase. All right. So, and this PP, by the way, that's a paragraph. So like P in HTML. So we can try that in this case. What will happen if we were to put this together like this, but we make this a paragraph and we make this a paragraph? What will happen then? Well, it will still be double right here, and the rest as before. So let's fix this by we can make this its own paragraph. All of these four, that should be a paragraph. And let's also make these one and these. but we don't want double line feeds. So let's do the no double line feed, as I call this. I don't know what it stands for. And then the fi, which ends that tag at the end here. And now it's starting to look like I want it to look, but it's a little bit difficult to read anyway. But let's make the function names highlighted. And we know how to do that, right? So let's see, we want the state to be Roman. We want this to be bold. So maybe the easiest way is to just maybe leave this as is, and then we make so first bold, then Roman. So we can do something like this, perhaps. How will that look? I don't want it to be on each line like this. So maybe we can even do, instead of BR, we can do RB. And we put the state like this. That should work. Almost. Now we lost the space instead. So let's add that manually. And there we go. This is how it's going to look. So now we can quite easily do the same for the other ones. So what we want to do is we want to insert RB. Let's do it for all of these. We want to have this. And unsigned char is both the same data type, so we do this followed by this. And we continue in the same manner. So it takes a little while to get into this way of doing things, but it's quite easy. It's even easier than HTML, I think. So that whole paragraph should be like we want it now. Yeah, I think this looks right. But let's do the other functions as well. So we want to do an RB and quote, let's say. Same here, and here, and here. We let the data type be its own thing, then we have this followed by this right here. And this too has a two-word data type. And then we do the last thing. And that was not correct. So let's see. Why does it do that? So here, okay, I had caps lock in. I hate that caps lock. On my Mac, I have disabled it. I have one of these advanced keyboards that you can program. So the keyboard itself has software which allow for the disabling and rerouting of keys. So I have used that function to totally disable caps lock, and I would like to do the same on my Windows machine because I never use caps lock. The only time I use it is when I accidentally type it and every VI command stops working. Alright, so look at this. This looks pretty beautiful, doesn't it? So we can check off this and this and this. So we're starting to have almost everything. And now I think we can even copy quite a block, because here we just have a lot of information and not much of this should be formatted in any way. Only the function names should be formatted. So let's see here. Well, we want to remove all these spaces. Maybe we can even do, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we want to replace 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 with nothing like this. Okay, Vim Magic. Alright, so this is a section header. And then we want to have a paragraph, another paragraph, couple more, like so. And now I just want to color the function names. So let's do Roman bold. Something like this, I guess. And here I have it on 2 lines. I don't want that. Same here. Yeah, this is on its own. Something like this. Let's also fix these colors or bolds. Let's see how it looks currently. Okay, almost right. We have this problem again with the spaces. Easy enough to fix, right? We know how to do this magic by now. And we should do the same here. So we do RB and D, and then we do this and new line and here. Same here. It goes quite fast to fix all this when you get into it. So let's see, here we should have this as regular and then this as the function name, and then we can do regular. Why didn't this become colored? Well, it looks right, so probably just something with my... No, it doesn't actually. But it has nothing to do with the syntax highlighting. I just missed one thing. Should be like this, right? Yes, that's right. So we have this, and then at the end here we have bold Roman, and let the dot be not bold. We are perfectionists, aren't we? And here we have another function name, but it's not related to my library, so I don't color that. How you want to do that is completely up to you. Here we have a couple of names as well, so this will be bold and Roman. And Roman, let's see, Roman, bold, Roman. Looks right. And what about here? Encrypt file should be highlighted. Okay, nice. Okay, so we have almost gone through all of these. These are the only ones left. And if we look at the SHA again, and go down to the examples, we see that these are tabbed out. And that's what these are for. So RS, it tabs out one step, so to say, which means that if we do ABC and then we do another RS, it will, this second ABC will be, so this will be like this, and this will be like this. So each time you RS, you jump out one relative step. And then you end it with RE, so R end. So these are the opening tag and ending tag for these jumps to the right. There is some fancy English words for what that is called, but I can't remember it currently, so tab is fine. It's fine. Right, so let's go to our text right here. And I wonder if we can remove all the spaces. Let's see, if we do if we do %s and we say that we want to have start of line and a space and a couple more of these, and we want to replace it with nothing all over the document. There we go. Vim magic. If you are not using Vim or Vim extensions, get the Vim extensions if you're using VS Code. It's awesome. Best of both worlds. Totally. Alright, so let's just copy this whole thing. And let's take this while we're at it. Boom. So this is a section header. This is just regular text, but I want it on one line. Here is one, and this starts here, and then it ends. Yes. Okay, so let's say this is a PP, and I want to keep my spaces, so let's put this inside of NF. Remember to put it in lowercase, and here we want to tab out. So now we can use our new thing. That's the RS. And then we can probably keep most of this as is. And here we want to end that, so R end. And this we want to have as a regular paragraph. And then we want a PP. We want a RS. Right, some of these we want to have even further in, because this we want to have a bit to the left, but the inside of the main function right here, we want to go one more step. So let's say we have another RS, and all of this should be tabbed out until we end the main function, and then this will be on its own, and then we end the one tab. Let's see how this looks currently. No, this is wrong. Okay, so you see, the first RS makes this pop out, second makes this pop out, and then we're back here, and we're back to the ground here. So let's do the same here. So we make another RS, and we end it here, and end it here, and we end the NF. This should be a section header, and this too. Yeah, something like this. And this is just part of the title, the TH tag. So let's skip this thing, and let's see how it looks. All right, it looks perfect. Oh no, almost perfect. This should not be on the same How do I want this? I think I want this as a paragraph, actually. Okay, that's good. All right, so now we are done with this thing. So what do we do now? Well, it's not so easy that we can just use this file as is. We need to compress it with the GC format. So we can do gzip xsc.3, and now it has compressed it into this. And now we just copy it to the right place. And usually on most Linux and Unix systems, I think, we put it in user share man, and then the man page prefixed by man. So the chapter prefixed by man. So man 3. And if we look at inside this directory right here, we see a whole lot of different things, and all of them are called the function name .3.gz. So we just need to copy the thing over there. So we can do sudo cp, and we take this thing and user share man 3. And I already have my version there. And then you can just do man xsc in this case, and you will get this nice looking man page. And yeah, there are probably a few more of these tags, but I have never found any use for the others. So I really hope you liked this episode. Please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Thanks for today.